Hi, and welcome to the Low No Drinker podcast, the companion podcast to Low No Drinker magazine, the #1 UK magazine for the sober curious drinker. This podcast is all about bringing you the people behind the brands who are leading the low and no alcohol revolution. In it, I'll be interviewing brand founders and industry pioneers who are all on a mission to help you live a life less intoxicated. Plus, I'll be sprinkling in some of my own thoughts and insights as the founder and editor of the magazine. So, let's get started with this week's guest. Hi everyone, and welcome to the Low No Drinker magazine interview series. Today I'm chatting with Steve Sailopal, I hope I've got that right, I'm sure he'll correct me, from Good Karma Beer, and he is here to tell us all about his journey with the brand, where it is now, and maybe we'll even get a few cheeky insights from him as to where it might be going in the future. So without further ado, let's go and chat to Steve. So, hello, Steve. How are you doing?
How you doing? You all right?
I'm very well. Thank you for joining me.
Denise, thanks so much for having me on your channel. You know, it's absolutely brilliant, mate. Thank you so much. Really
it's my pleasure. So just to introduce you to people, here we have Steve. Now, please forgive me if I get it wrong. Sailopal? Yes?
That's it, mate. You nailed it.
And you are the founder behind Good Karma Beer. So would love to just know a bit more about you and your journey to where you are now. So please tell the watchers and listeners a little bit about yourself. Start at your beginning.
Oh, thank you so much. Again, thanks for having me on here, pal. Really appreciate it. I'm Steve. I'm the founder of Good Karma. I started brewing alcohol-free beer back in 2016. Way back then, everybody was saying, alcohol-free, really? You know, it's not really going to happen. It's just a fad, you know, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But, you know, we've all proved it wrong, you know. At that time, there wasn't much in terms of yeasts or certain ingredients we could use to manipulate the science around fermentation, etc. So all that's now available. So it shows, you know, everybody's like chipping in, trying to, you know, help us create the perfect alcohol-free beer.
Yeah.
But times are changing, and look what you're doing, and look what all these other brands are doing, and other magazines and shops. All this, we never thought it would branch out into all these different areas. My focus was purely on mindful drinkers, people who are on the wagon, have had a bit of a bad relationship with alcohol. Like myself, you know, I had a bit of a tricky time, and I jumped into meditation, spiritualism, and that really helps me. And that I then, back in the day when I was doing my previous brand, I connected that to the whole mindful mission that I was on at that time. And that's what we actually tried to do with Good Karma as well, hence the name. You do good come back to you. You know, that's what we believe. And again, I'm trying to express that in terms of the names of our beers: mantra, chakra, tantra. You know, these are all philosophies that help us in one way or another to seek enlightenment, try to draw us away from those sinful things, you know.
Right.
But what's happening now, though, is that the mainstream drinkers are embracing alcohol-free beer. So this has actually opened up a huge market for this sector. You know, and you know, back in 2016, 2017, there was only myself, Big Drop, and Lucky Saint. But now there's so many alcohol-free brands out there, alcohol-free beer especially, you know. It's just crazy. You look on LinkedIn and Cedars and Crowdcube, they're all like raising £500,000 for fun at the moment.
Yeah, everyone is raising and trying to grow and expand at the moment. It seems to be an explosion in the last couple of years. You've been around for a while. Not suggesting
I'm going white, mate. Look.
But you've been in the industry for a while, and you mentioned something before that I wanted to touch on about sort of the production process. How have you seen that change? Because for me, I see a lot of people, I don't brew beer, so I, as a novice, see a lot of people talking about the technology behind the brewing process, and so many people talking about different types of hops. And I know that hops are really important for you guys and locality. So what have you seen that's changed in those few years?
A couple of things that are really the main focus, if you want to brew a good, decent alcohol-free beer, is obviously the science behind brewing. If you're getting into the beer industry and you want to create an alcohol-free, it's always good to know how to do the practicals, how to actually brew a beer, not just get someone to brew it for you. Get your hands dirty, And what we've got now, though, Denise, is we've got certain yeasts that don't turn into alcohol. The sugars don't turn into alcohol. So a company of my size, which is very, very small, and a few others similar to my situation, are using that yeast, and we're controlling our fermentation, chilling our beers, keep making sure our beers are stored always in a cooler environment, just to maintain the flavor and aroma. Yet there's the big boys, who are using apparatus such as reverse osmosis, and these kits cost like £600,000-700,000,
Wow.
So what they do, they brew a normal beer, press a button, and it goes through all these different chambers, and it comes out an alcohol-free,
Okay.
So it's like, what's the fun in that, Number one, you're brewing a normal beer, you're spending all that money to brew a normal beer, and you're just like stripping it all, and obviously they've got more money, so they can do that. But with us, with the yeast and the science behind it, and we're all learning every day on what to do, certain ingredients, certain grains as well, that I've been recently focusing that don't ferment as much as normal grains, that's really helped. In terms of hops, so my story is really good because I feel for good karma, and us being based in Kent, we've now decided that all our beers will be brewed using Kent and Sussex hops, just local farmers. So literally from our base here in Canterbury, all the hops that we buy are like a 2-hour drive. And so we've done IPA, Pale Ale, and we just launched our lager. And this is made using a new hop called Harlequin, which was specifically developed by a hop merchants called Charles Farram. And when you get to try this, I'll get you some cans over, mate. It's absolutely delicious. And it shows you British hops can be just as flavoursome as New Zealand hops or American hops. And for us to use UK hops, we're not doing air miles. Sustainability is so important for us all at the moment, and at the same time we're helping local farmers. It's a win-win situation. It's good karma.
And I guess you get to build good relationships with the people around, so it's you know who you're dealing with and what you get.
So last September we brewed a beer with a hop called Ernest, which was grown just outside Tenterton. Okay. We went there at 4 a.m, picked it off the vines, got it back to the brewery and brewed it. And that's fresh. And that is a special beer. It happens once a year. A lot of the Kent brewers call it a green hop beer. So, and that was absolutely fantastic. And it shows you, you're actually there with the farmers, you're doing it. You got, like I said, you've got your relationship with them, and it's just, it's really fun, really good for the soul as well,
And it makes a great beer.
Oh, yeah. You know that, mate.
So talking of beers then, talk to me about the beers in the Good Karma range, because you've got quite a few, and I think, do you rotate them? How does it?
Well,
tell me about that.
Well, I restarted during lockdown, just towards the end of 2020. I got back into it. Everybody was saying, "Oh, Steve, look, you've got to get back into it now, mate." I took a couple of years off. I wasn't very well. My previous project, a lot happened there, and I got back into it. So to fuel the market, I was launching new beers every month. So if you look on our website, we've got about 17 different beers. So last year we released 13 different beers.
Wow.
We were just churning them out. I'd been away from the industry a couple of years, so I really wanted to get a feel of what's going on, you know. But then towards the end of last year, well, actually beginning of this year, I had to move, and we arrived in Kent, and I just restructured the whole thing. And as I was saying earlier, having purely Kent, Sussex hopped beers, you know, and just narrowing down the whole range. I think also we had to look at the fact that we don't have any financial backing behind us. We literally brew our beer, sell it, use that money to make another batch. You know, we're not, you know, as all the other guys I was saying earlier, raising £500,000. You know, we're not in that league, sadly. And so that was also a factor of us not being able to churn out so many different beers. I think also in the current climate, you know, it's hard out there. We just got to really tighten our belts and be very careful of how we do things. And any sensible businessman would want to tighten their belts at the present moment, you know.
Yeah.
So,
And also, I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing. There are, you know, even within our sector, there's one of the big guys that I can think of that only have the one product. They only have, and they're absolutely
oh, they're
huge,
smashing it, aren't they?
you know, and doing one thing well is not a bad thing. So,
Yeah.
you know, spreading yourself too thin. I can imagine when you're a small producer, it's got to be on top of everything.
I think also, Denise, the fact that because now compared to in 2016, there's so many alcohol-free beer brands out there, I think it's also important that we also all have our own identity.
Yeah.
You know, being a beer, everybody can brew an IPA, a pale ale, you know. What's the fun of all the alcohol-free brands doing the same thing? You know, our industry is still growing. We are still very, very small compared to the entire beer industry, you know. So we're all fighting for the same tap space, the same shelf space in the shops. So if you're different, you're actually going to be more attractive to the retailer. And this is what we hope to do with what we want to do. You know, we got a lot of ideas yet. You know, we've just literally started. And I've actually, over the last couple of years, since I come back, I've been thinking, I said, why haven't people done this? Why haven't people done that? Yet there's so many alcohol-free brands popping up doing the same thing. I said, guys, come on, you know.
It's innovation going.
It is. And I've been very fortunate also to be able to help a lot of alcohol-free brewers in the last couple of years as well. I do consultancy from time to time, and there's I think about 4 brands at the moment who I've helped to redo their recipes and help them get it on the market. So that's really good as well for us. We can work with other people and, you know, try to do some sort of collaborations. In fact, I've been blessed. I've been very lucky. There's a very old good friend of mine. He's got a small operation, bless him himself, you know, so he lets me brew there. And again, other people that I want, obviously, a couple of the guys that I did help, their volumes were huge, you know, it's like 10 times of what I normally brew. So I had to find somebody for them. So it's great, you know, it helps me look around as well, you know, I get ready for when we hopefully eventually grow as.
And that's the good karma, right? You're putting it out there, you're helping
That's it, mate. You know, I'm helping
That's
people.
you.
So hopefully that'll rub back on me, you know.
There you go. There you go. And who wouldn't want to help you? Come on.
Oh, you know, you never know.
Yeah. Well, let's tell people a little bit more about the beers in your range. So you've got a new one coming out. Can you tell us a bit about that, what it is and the flavor profile?
Yeah. So the 2 you got behind you there, one is called Tantra and one is called Chakra. Again, they're both made with UK hops. I'm really excited about Mantra. So Mantra is brewed using Harlequin. So it's a beer. The hops are developed by Charles Farram. It's a new hop, and the hop gives you really nice peach, pineapple aromas. It's really, really pleasant. It's really refreshing. And the other thing that we've done with this, and we chose to use grains from a local merchant in Warminster. Their grains are very heritage. Again, their grains are not flown over from Germany. It's the traditional maltsters, So we've used their lager malts in this. And when you get a chance to taste it, we hope that this is a cross between a lager and a German Helles lager. I look forward to what you think. We've put it out in the industry. There's been some positive vibes on this, so we're really, really excited. And we needed a lager. That's one beer I've not done in the last 4 or 5 years as a lager. It's always been a pain in the neck trying to brew a lager,
Oh, is it? Is it more challenging?
Oh, yeah. It's much more trickier. So we have to really balance the hops on this. And as the word lager, means in German, is lagered, it has to be lagered for a longer period. And alcohol-free beer, I don't really like to keep in a tank too long, because, there's always chances of fermentation. But yeah, we're really excited, pal. So we've got 3 beers out now, and September we hope to do another beer, a collaboration, and we're planning something special for Christmas later this year. Yeah, something fun. And you never know, we have had a few people asking us to do collaborations up north, and if we get the chance, we'll actually go up and might do those as well, But I'm really just corely focusing on just the 3 at the moment, working with these local farmers and just trying to produce something nice, clean and drinkable,
Lovely.
That's the most important thing.
I can't wait to try it. That sounds fantastic. I want to talk a bit about we touched on it already, a bit about the philosophy behind Good Karma. Obviously we've spoken about, the putting goodness out there, helping other brands and helping other people, and that coming back as well. Having a read through your website, you talk a lot about diversity as well and inclusion. How is that important to you?
Well, diversity, inclusion, color of my skin. You don't see many people of my color, my ethnicity, on this side of the bar brewing beer. I think probably in the whole of the UK there's 2 Asian breweries, and I'm not talking about Cobra. That I don't call that a brewery. But there's a couple of Asian guys who are brewing. There's a friend of mine, Stacy from Rock Leopard from Ghana, Echo Brewery from Nigeria. There's not a lot of people, making alcohol other than, what you see on the other side of the bar. And just last year, we'd done a 4-pack with Cloudwater. We worked with Cloudwater to create a 4-pack. So it was myself, Stacey, Echo Brewery and Queer Brewing. And it was a 4-pack diversity pack, which went into Tesco's. And the guys from Cloudwater brewed it for us up north. Fantastic. And that was really, really good. Yeah, we were so chuffed to be involved with that. And it shows you, people really need to look at being more involved with diversity and looking at, people from other nationalities, from other ethnicities, cultures, doesn't mean that we don't drink. Okay, we have certain beliefs, religious beliefs. So does every religion, it doesn't mean that we don't drink. We party like everybody else. Have you ever been to an Indian wedding? You get shit-faced. It's like
I have, and yes.
Yeah, exactly. We all want to have some fun, and in the last couple of years, especially with COVID, I think it's so important that we all try to help each other, and obviously what happened with America with Floyd, it's opened our eyes, and it's sad that it's taken time for eyes to open. We've all been here. I'm an 80s kid in East London. What I went through when I was going at school, but these sort of things are now being talked about, and I'm glad people are taking this all seriously, because diversity, inclusion is so important in any industry. And I think with alcohol free, the whole sector being mindful drinking, I think this is actually more, and we actually are seeing a lot of brands popping up within the no-low sector of different ethnicities, and that's really great. It's really encouraging for people out there who want to get involved.
I hear what you're saying, and one of the reasons I've as well struggled with how much of myself I should put out whilst I'm doing this. And I've finally come to the conclusion that it should be more, because there aren't many people that look like me who are having these conversations out loud. But there are a lot of people that look like me, and you are having these conversations to the front. I think it's so important that we show that alcohol-free mindful drinking, however you want to refer to it, is not race specific, it's not gender specific, it's not sexuality specific. There are some amazing movements going on in the LGBTQ plus community for sobriety. And they are shouting, you know, people are shouting about it and raving about it. And then I find in our communities, it's still a little bit less talked about.
It is, like, for me, for instance, being a Punjabi boy. So when I was growing up, you know, oh, have a drink, you know, grow hairs on your chest. You know, if you don't drink alcohol, you're not part of the sort of gang sort of thing. And you're growing up in that sort of culture. But now, even in our culture, Punjabi culture, you're seeing more and more people saying you don't have to have alcohol to have a good time. And everybody's learning as well, you know. So I think a lot's changed, and it's so encouraging for me as a brewer to see people look like me, look like my friends in this industry. Because, you know, if I was an 18-year-old kid looking at what I'm doing now, I'll be saying, oh, great, you know, I want to do that.
Yeah, I've got options.
Exactly, you know, we're not just doctors and accountants, you know what I mean?
There are other paths that could be.
Yes, I want you to grow up, be an accountant. Oh, goodness me.
No, I'm off down the brewery.
You know what I mean? I'm sorting this out, Dad. Leave me alone.
Oh, so listen, take me back a little bit. I know we're jumping around a bit, but that's what happens when you chat to a mate, right? You just jump about the place.
You know, it's cool, mate.
When we spoke previously, you mentioned a bit of a story that I'd love for you to tell us more about. And that is when you started making your beers, you popped in to see somebody who's now doing very, very well.
Oh, yes.
And just presented her with some drinks. How did that go? Tell me a bit about that.
I got so much love for these guys. Laura and Juicy from Club Soda. They're just, you know, I got a lot of love for them. They're absolutely brilliant people and very kind people, and they've really, really helped me over the years. And what they're doing now with the shop and everything else surrounding Club Soda is absolutely brilliant. I don't think alcohol free would be here without what they were banging on about back in 2016. If Laura wasn't waving that flag, we wouldn't be all where we are today. But the story, so 2016, before I actually started brewing commercially, I was doing some home brewing, because prior to alcohol free, I was involved in the conventional beer industry. I used to work for a Belgian brewery. So all the beers we used to make at that time back in Belgium, like 8% and 12%. My lifestyle changed a little bit. So I started playing around at home how I can do an alcohol-free IPA and a stout. I nailed it. So I've done an IPA stout, 2016, walked into Club Soda's offices off of Brick Lane and saw Laura and Jesse for the first time and handed them 2 bottles. No labels on them, no nothing. And she called me a couple of days later. She goes, that was absolutely delicious. And I'll be honest with you, one of the reasons probably looking back now, why I got involved with alcohol free is being in the beer industry. I could hear what Laura and Juicy were doing, you know, and I was thinking about, you know what, I'm not the only one who's changing my habit, you know, of drinking Belgian doubles and triples, and that really, really, you know, steered me in that direction. But yeah, Club Soda, man, shout out to those guys. You know, a lot of respect for them guys.
I love that. I love the boldness of that. It's like, right, that's it. I'm just going to pop over, give them some.
They didn't know me from Adam, mate. Like, who are you? You know, so I just popped in there, and we've been really close friends ever since.
They are doing fantastic stuff. You're right. You know, the shop, if anybody doesn't know, they've opened a tasting room and shop in Covent Garden, and it's become a hub, hasn't it, for people who are looking at reducing their alcohol consumption for whatever reason. And that's the thing, you know, beers like yours are there for people who are looking at changing their relationship with alcohol.
Indeed.
And it doesn't have to have a big reason behind it. It doesn't have to be, now you must be teetotal. You know, there's some studies recently showing that a lot of people who drink alcohol-free beers are actually using them to moderate rather than to give up.
Well, this is what I was saying. Like, for instance, the mainstream market are now embracing alcohol-free. So, for instance, one of the social media channels, Twitter, is very active in terms of alcohol-free. There's a whole beer Twitter sector, you know. And we talk about what we're doing, and you get a lot of people coming back to us and saying, oh, well, we try to have a couple of alcohol-free beers just to increase our session, you know, or during the day, I'll have an alcohol-free beer instead of a conventional beer. You know, I've got to go into a meeting. I still got to keep a clear head, but I still just fancy a taste of hops, you know. So that's really, really encouraging. And I think with the demographic of the conventional user as well as the mindful drinker, this sector is actually going to grow, and you're seeing more and more normal breweries knocking at alcohol-free beers now. Back in 2016, I don't even want to name them, but I knocked on their door and they go, Steve, you sure you bumped your head or something? Have you got, who wants alcohol-free beer? And that same brewery has got a very nice alcohol-free beer at the moment, you know.
All the big boys have got one now. You know, it used to be that it was, I mean, this was when I was still drinking, so perhaps I wasn't paying as much attention, but, you know, it was Beck's Blue was out there. That was the one that everybody knew about. And that was pretty much it. And then slowly.
The horrible Caliber.
Oh, yes. And now they've all seen it. So everything from Guinness to Heineken to they're all there. What do you think? I mean, we've spoken about the big boys before. Do you think that the big guys are gonna keep taking over this sector, or do you think the little guys are gonna keep making a stand?
It's very interesting you're saying this, because I was talking about this the other day. So there's people like myself, smaller alcohol-free brands are popping up who don't have distribution and networks. And you got the conventional brewers who are knocking out one or two alcohol-free beer, already got an existing chain. So their beers are actually getting out there quicker than we're doing. So we're still knocking on doors, and these guys have already got all the bottle shops tied up. And then the gatekeepers saying to us, oh, sorry, we've got someone. So it's actually more challenging,
right,
for smaller alcohol-free brands. And also because our volumes or production are quite smaller compared to these guys as well, our cost of product is slightly more. So a lot of these things, you know, when the buyer looks at it, you know, oh, well, I might as well buy this beer from the boys up north. You know, we're already buying their normal beers, and it's still competitive. But what I would say to all of those people, and if they are even listening today, you know, you've got to give us guys a chance. You know, we will be those brands in the future. And the most important thing is, especially with what we're trying to do at Good Karma, we're working with local farmers. We're an independent business. It'd be great to work with all the independent bottle shops. Just don't close the doors. You gatekeepers, you know, please, you know, we're here as well. You know, it's it is challenging, dude. You know, and I think the boys with the big brand boys, they've got the chain and distribution. We just need to be part of it now, you know.
So very well said, Steve. I love that. That is a call to the gatekeepers to give the little guy a chance, right?
Yes.
David and Goliath kind of thing going on here, right? And
tell me about it.
I think that's a really good shout out to say to bottle shops and bars and independents and say, you know, try some different things. And also because consumers are leading this at the moment, and it is about people going, oh, I'm interested in trying something. And consumers don't just want the same old. Yes, there are things that we fall back on and that we rely on and we feel comforted, but over the last few years, I've worked in hospitality for a long time.
Yeah.
People want to try something different. They want something new. They want something that challenges them. They want something that excites them. They
That's
want
it.
something with a story behind it.
Tell me about. And Denise, if you go back, so for instance, the whole craft beer scene that started around about 2008. The whole reason that started was independent brewers wanted to make beer that they liked and they enjoyed, and it was anti-establishment, anti-Anheuser-Busch and InBev and all that Diageo. That's why craft beer has grown. And the other secret about craft beer, and the good thing about craft beer, was all the craft brewers at that time were all collaborating, sharing ideas. If somebody was short on grain, somebody would lend it to them, and that helped that side of the industry grow. Whereas I think in the alcohol-free beer scene, everybody's a little bit, I don't want to share my secret with them. I don't want to do that. Come on, guys, this isn't rocket science. It's just alcohol-free beer, and that's what in the last couple of months, we've been speaking to a lot of alcohol-free brewers, and it's great. We also got to have that banter, because if we don't all work together, we'll get swallowed by these big guys.
True. Yeah, you got to open the doors and talk to each other and help each other out. You're right. We're back with the karma. Can't escape it.
Oh God, honestly.
Steve, it's been amazing talking to you. Before I let you go, just a couple of questions. You've already said that you've got a few plans in the pipeline for the future and some stuff for Christmas. Where do people go if they want to find out more about what you're doing and what's coming up? Where's the best place to find out more about and buy your amazing beers?
Well, the best place is the social media at the moment. We don't have the bucks to pay any big PR company, so we're literally doing everything ourselves.
I know the feeling.
You know what I mean? So yeah, please do check out our social media, Twitter and Instagram. I'm trying to get into TikTok, but it's a bit of a mission for me at the moment. If you don't see our beers out there, please, mention us to your local bottle shops. They can give us a call and they can buy our beer. There's a lot we want to do. We are a very small, we're a tiny, tiny brand, and eventually people will look at us and say, oh yeah, we want to invest in Good Karma. Yeah. But until that time comes, we really need your support. We're on a really good, exciting, mindful mission with Good Karma, with what we're doing with the local farmers, and we'd love everybody to enjoy our beer and again spread some good vibes.
Absolutely. And last question, I like to do this question because I think you'll appreciate this. I like to spread the love, so I always ask people, you're on your way to a summer barbecue with some friends, and you're bringing some AF beers or wines with you, apart from your own fabulous beer, which everybody should be drinking, and I will link to in the description or the show notes or the whatever's, I don't know all the terms yet, but I will make sure everyone knows where they can get them. But what are you bringing along to drink to the summer barbecue for yourself?
I know that's a tricky one. You got me on the spot there. There's some lovely alcohol-free beers out there, honestly, and I would bring all of them if I can. But if I want just now one, is the IPA from Freestar.
Okay, Freestar.
They just recently launched it, and it's absolutely stunning. It's a really nice IPA. Their lager's pretty good as well, but the IPA is really, really nice. You could actually drink that and think you're drinking a conventional beer, because the body on that beer is really good. Unlike a lot of alcohol-free beers, bodies are quite thin. They've really managed to maintain that, and the aroma and the bitterness is really, really good. So yeah, a Freestar IPA. There you go, giving them free advertising.
Take you to a party. That's all you need. A couple of good Karmas and a couple of Freestars.
And they're a bunch of good lads as well. They're a good team.
Steve, thank you
Denise,
so
thank
much
you.
for joining me. It's been lovely talking to you.
No, thank you so much. I'm really grateful.
Yeah, you're doing amazing stuff. I love the sustainability. I love that you're keeping everything so close and you're building relationships and developing this community around what you're doing. And I think good, great, amazing karma is coming your way. I'm feeling it.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And I'd like to want to say as well, what you're doing as well. We needed a magazine. So what the journey that you're on, mate, is going to be a long one, and it's really exciting.
Oh,
we'll be following you.
Great. I'll take it along with me.
You take care, buddy.
Take care.